Better World Blueprint. Good humans doing good things.
Hello, I'm Siobhan Hunt. When it comes to our physical health, most of us know that if we put good food into our bodies, we'll feel good. I firmly believe that the same can be said for our minds. Fill your head with poetry, beautiful writing, music, and that most powerful of organs, your brain, will start to feel good too. This is where A Better World Blueprint comes in. Here, it's all about the people who are trying to change the world for the better. Their stories are uplifting, passionate, and ultimately the best kind of food for your brain. Welcome. It's great to have you here. Jamila Rizvi started her career in the corridors of power as an advisor to the Rudd and Gillard governments on gender, early childhood, media and employment. She then moved on to become editor-in-chief at the women's website Mamamia and was often on programs like Channel 10's The Project as a commentator. She's an author and presenter, but most recently her role has been as Deputy Managing Director at Future Women, where she champions gender equality in the workplace. I hope you enjoy this chat with Jamila Rizvi. Hello, Jamila, and welcome to A Better World Blueprint.
Oh, it's so nice to be here, Siobhan. Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure. What led you to founding Future Women? Did you have a wake-up moment where you just thought, this is what I'm going to do?
You know, if I'm honest, no. I have sort of had one of those slightly bitsy careers, really. But a common thread, I think, to what I have been doing has been around women and supporting women's economic participation. And that's been something I've always been passionate about because I've always seen having the independence of a income stream that is yours and yours alone is fundamental to so many elements of the fight for gender equality, because it gives women freedom and it gives women choice and it gives women the ability to make decisions about their own safety as well as their own futures. And so I do think that has sort of emerged as the common thread. And certainly I think it's the area of public policy I'm most passionate about. So Future Women, when I was asked by Helen McCabe to come and support her in launching this new idea, it just sounded like it was right up my alley, that it was exactly the sort of work that I wanted to be doing. And it's really evolved since we first started working on it. But where it's got to is, for me, an even more purposeful place.
So you mentioned you were invited by Helen to come and help launch Future Women. I could be wrong, but I don't think you've ever done anything quite like this before then. How did you work out the next steps? Meeting with Helen, did she have a plan? I'm sure she brought you on because you'd have ideas, but it seems like it was a fairly new idea for both of you.
Yeah, I think Helen had a vision of what was primarily a membership platform. She saw that there was a space in the market and a need amongst women, professional women in particular, that they wanted somewhere to meet, both in person and online, that they were looking for content that was made for them and opportunities to see what was possible as a result of that. And that's what she set out to do initially. I think my involvement and very much working together has meant that we've shifted those goals a little bit, perhaps to broaden them more than anything from the media backgrounds that both Helen and I have had. So today we have a much broader goal, which is around achieving gender equality in Australian workplaces. And so that's a goal that's inclusive of people of all genders. It's a goal that is about making sure that everyone gets to be who they are and bring their whole selves to work, and that workplaces are better equipped to support people, and that we're also supporting women who aren't in work, but women who would like to be in the paid workforce or are moving in and out of the paid workforce around caring or parenting responsibilities. So I think we've sort of broadened it together, and that has certainly been really something that's been really important to me.
You talk about it being a place for networking, but not just networking of professionals, as you mentioned, getting women back into work. And I remember that after COVID, when you first launched the Jobs Academy, it was about women who'd lost hours of while they were in COVID, or if they'd just had kids, and helping them back into work. How do you work out what programs will best support your goals in that idea about creating gender equality?
It's a really good question. I would say probably a lot more scientifically now than we did at the start. At the start, there was a lot of gut feel and vibes on what we thought would help and what we thought was missing. Whereas now we've got a huge team who are working very closely with the data and analysing what we know about participation in the programs and what works and what leads to outcomes and what helps people and the kind of people who are coming to us for help and what they need. For me, I think the core of it is around not making assumptions. My background prior to working in the media was working in politics, as you mentioned, and I did work for the federal government as an advisor for a period, and I worked for the Minister for Employment Participation at one point. And employment participation is code for unemployment in government speak. So we ran all of the government's employment services through that portfolio. And to be honest, I think it was probably the most jaded I felt when I worked in government was doing that work. I felt like rather than meaningfully setting up services that were going to help people who were receiving government support payments to find work that would work for them, it felt a lot more like an exercise in compliance. Like, you can have your government payment as long as you do these things and jump through these hoops. And the focus is on making sure that we are getting the system right, that we checked that you jumped through the hoops. And the focus on that became so obsessive that it felt like we really lost sight of getting people work and supporting people to find work. And I think what I was frustrated by was there was such a one-size-fits-all approach. It was just like, yeah, so you're unemployed and you come here and you do these 6 things and then you go get your unemployment check again next fortnight. And I just felt like we were giving up on people. And where we were supporting people, it was because you happened to be someone who fell into the narrow category who was going to benefit from the particular way those services were set up, rather than the services recognizing someone as a whole person with complex needs and backgrounds and barriers and opportunities and skills and strengths. So what we've tried to do with Future Women and the Jobs Academy is to not treat people like they're unemployed. And I use that in quotation marks because that's a factual label, but it actually comes with a whole lot of biases and it comes with a whole lot of assumptions, many of which are wrong. We've tried to come to this with a strengths-based approach, not a deficit lens, that recognises that all of us move in and out of work at different points in our lives. Some of us require government support when we're out of work, some of us don't, but we all move in and out of work for periods for different reasons, and that everyone deserves support to find the kind of work that is going to fulfill them and mean that they can look after themselves and their families. And in that sense, what we've tried to do with the Jobs Academy at Future Women is approach the Jobs Academy the same way we approach all our programs. So we don't approach this program any differently to how we approach our programs for professional women or for male executives, right? The idea is to recognise that someone has come to you for support or help or training and to try and deliver that in a way that's going to work for them.
As you say, Future Women has grown, but when you're starting a company, I imagine one of the hardest things is to work out how to make it financially viable.
Yeah.
You can have the best intentions in the world, but you still have to keep a roof over your head. How did you work that side out?
Slowly, and I would say we're still making it work every day. The world of a scale-up is always knowing always having to weigh up, I suppose, and continue to return to the question of should we be spending money at the moment or should we be saving money? Should we be a company that's making a profit right now or should we be reinvesting all of that back into the business? And for the most part, that has been the case for FW since day one, is to continue growing. Yeah, it's complex, especially when you're doing work that is around impact and you really care about people. And I would say we have a team of type A empaths who work for us at FW who don't believe in doing anything in a sort of quick and scrappy way. They like to do everything perfectly. And they also really care about the people that we work with, which means that we have had to be cautious and careful in the way that we grow and the way that we do business. We became a B Corp a couple of years ago, which I think has been really important for us. It's a way of holding ourselves to account.
Could you just explain what a B Corp is,
Yeah,
please?
of course. Yeah. So B corporations, it's a certification, I suppose, is the best way to put it. It's a global certification, and it's quite hard to get. You could think about it as like the Heart Foundation tick, right, for healthy food or something, but this is for companies. And it's about recognizing that organizations that want to be impact-led and ethical aren't always not-for-profits, that companies should hold themselves to those standards too. So it has a whole lot of requirements around the environmental impact standards that you have to reach, the way that you support and treat your people, the way that you're structured in a legal regards to make sure that you're behaving ethically, that the work that you do is ethical, and that you are focused on a positive impact on the planet and on people. And that is something that we achieved and that we're continuing to try and improve and get better at, because I think that's, for us, has been really central to the way that we go about what we do. In terms of like the pure nuts and bolts of the finances, I think it has helped us to diversify income streams. That comes with challenges, because when you do too many things, it's very easy to get distracted and lose focus on what matters most. But a diversity of income streams where we are working with professional women who join us as members or buy tickets to our events, where we're working with employers that want to close their gender pay gap or train their staff who come to us for support or advice. And then we're also working with governments to support people who are between jobs or unemployed and looking for that extra helping hand to get back into the workforce.
Did you ever stumble?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I think I stumbled today, twice, 3 times already. Yeah. I think sometimes it feels like all we do is stumble.
How do you cope with that when you are basically leading an organisation?
Yeah, I mean, you know what? I think Helen and I work very closely running this business and collaborate very closely. I have enormous respect for her, and I have learnt so much from working alongside her. We are very different people, and sometimes that can be tricky. I think we come at problems from different angles. We communicate quite differently, and I think sometimes that can be an obstacle, and we work pretty hard to try and make sure that we are, communicating in a common language for the team and things like that. And we definitely get it wrong sometimes. But one of the things that we absolutely have in common is that both of us are terrible at celebrating the wins, and we are also very good at moving on from the losses. So we kind of don't pause for either. And look, I think some more celebrating of the wins would be a good thing. But we tend to get over things pretty quickly. And yeah, there are losses. Of course there are. There are grants that you apply for that you don't win. There are tenders where you weren't competitive. There are opportunities to succeed or make something tick that don't come off. There are ideas for approaches or events or whatever that people aren't interested in. There was a pandemic that hit us when the vast majority of our revenue came from in-person events at the time. There are always obstacles, and there are always things that are going to go wrong. I think our attitude has been, if you're going to fail fast and bounce back quickly.
Has working on Future Women changed you, do you think?
Oh, yeah. Well, yes, definitely has. Yeah, in a lot of ways. I think it's really solidified to me that I love this period of a business. I do love this scale up phase. I perhaps don't like the very beginning, that startup period's really a lot. But I do love the scale up. I love the sense of possibility, because for me, one of the most rewarding parts of work is the team that you work with. And one of the realities of working in organizations that are sort of in a steady state, whether they're large, small, or medium, is that there are limits to the opportunities that are available for people within those organizations. You might have to wait till your boss resigns if you want to apply for that job, or you have to go sideways or diagonal when you don't really want to try and get to where you're going. There's so much less of that in a scale up, because for most of our team, the next job that they're going to have doesn't exist. We'll be creating it as we grow, and we'll be evolving it and often building jobs around people and around what they're good at and what they're not good at, what they want to do and what they don't want to do. And there is such joy in that. And I really have at Future Women learned, this is the second time around, I think I've been working in a scale up, and I've really learned just how much I love that, and the possibility that comes with that, and the mix of the high level management and strategy work, and we're all building this thing together and you don't get time to be precious. And sometimes it's just everyone pitch in and you got to pick up and do whatever's required on that particular day.
Have you been able to see the impact of your work? And I guess I'm probably most interested in the work you've done around Jobs Academy and that kind of stuff.
Yes. And it's, I think, another one of the joys of a scale-up, right? When you are smaller, you tend to be closer to the impact action. When I worked in government, you're so far away from the impact, even when it's happening and you know it's happening and you've got data that tells you it's happening. You can't feel it and taste it and know that it's real. But we have a Slack channel at FW that is dedicated to what we call Jobs Academy wins. And it's not about data and it's not about tallies or reporting to government. It is genuinely to celebrate the wins of the members and to share those stories, because some of our staff are front facing and they'll hear those stories all the time and some aren't. And when we are getting messages and letters and emails and feedback that says, there was one just this morning, a story of a woman who had experienced violence in her relationship the last few years and had left her partner and had a couple of teenage children and was rebuilding and joined Jobs Academy early in that process and then ended up sort of taking a pause for 6 months while she just got life under control before she could have even the headspace to think about looking for a job. But she'd worked with us. She had accessed a whole bunch of support. She'd accessed mentoring support. She'd accessed a whole bunch of resources to rewrite her resume. She'd had one-on-one support from one of our employer partners to prepare her for job interviews. She'd done a Google certificate because Google provide Google certificate access for free for our participants. And she'd used that to get a new job in a totally new industry. And I want to make sure I'm respecting her privacy by not giving you too much detail, but she had started that job and she was 6 weeks in and just saying how much she loved it. And when you see stuff like that and you are reminded of the fact that a job is so much more than a paycheck, 100% that paycheck is going to help keep her and her family secure. It matters enormously, but it's also about the dignity and the pride and the purpose that comes with work and the confidence and the kind of sense of fulfillment and possibility that comes with being hired and being recognised by someone else as being able to be someone who can make a valuable contribution. That has an enormous impact on your soul and who you are.
Jamila, thank you so much for speaking with me today.
Oh, it's an absolute pleasure.
Jamila Rizvi, Deputy Managing Director at Future Women. For more information about Future Women and the programs they run, check out the links in the episode notes. I'm Siobhan Hunt. See you on the next episode of The Better World Blueprint.